Okay, here we go for part two. Some network terms and acronyms. Now, acronyms, remember, is when we just pick the first letter and say that. And I don't know why there's so much of this stuff in computers, um, all the different the letters that stand for stuff, USB and NIC and WAP and all these things. What do they mean? I think it's trying to make people feel smarter than they are. I don't know, but maybe just because the terms are so long, it's nice to have a short form. But here are some that goes with network stuff. And again, if I'm going too fast, you can pause me, right? So a network interface card, NIC, network interface card, is hardware that translates instructions for traffic on a network. So this is the chunk of motherboard that's actually in the computer that's in front of you, right? And we know that it's a network interface card rather than some other expansion card because it's the one that looks like the phone line can be hooked in it. That blue cable goes in the back. That's the internet card or the interface card. Also sometimes called an Ethernet card or a network adapter. All those things kind of mean the same thing, and it's that thing right there. Okay. Um, Another set of terms that you'll see are switch routers and hubs. Switch routers and hubs are hardware that allows more than one device to be connected. And so the idea is out the back of your computer goes that blue cable, and then it goes somewhere into either a switch, a hub, or a router. Switch or hub or a router um, they're all kind of the same because more than one computer gets put in there. They're different in the fact like the router is kind of more complicated, a hub is the least complicated, and the switch is kind of in between the two, but you don't have to worry about that. You can think of switch routers and hubs as as the thing where your computer gets hooked into it and then the router goes to the server. The router allows the computers to communicate with each other. Notice that these ones got these little antenna on them, and that's a hint that these ones are all wireless switches or wireless routers. And sometimes wireless routers are called wireless access points. WAP, WAP is a wireless version of a switch. Okay. Sometimes you'll call those wireless routers as well. All that stuff means the same. And essentially, it's how we get more than one device hooked up to our at home. It's how we get more than one device hooked up to our modem. And that's what I think that's what the next term is. A modem. What is a modem? A modem looks kind of like that at home, and it changes data for transmission. So the idea is the network card changes your information into computer stuff, and the modem changes the computer stuff to get ready to go over either a telephone line or a cable line, depending on what your internet service provider is. If it's Rogers, it's probably a cable line it's a cable modem that you have. If it's Bell, it'll be a telephone modem that you have, perhaps. And the modem changes the computer signals to get ready to go over the lines to wherever you're sending them, over the internet or whatever. That's a modem. And just to show you, back in our basic home network here, so what we had is we had our computers hooked up to a router or switch. And again, in 176, this is physical. Probably at home, I'll bet you now that you have a wireless router at home. But then the wireless router is almost always physically connected to the cable. And the cable is then hooked up to your phone line or to your cable line, and off it goes. So you'll probably have two devices at home if you check it out. This might be a wireless one where your computers and your stuff isn't hooked up physically, and that's fine. But almost for sure there'll be a physical connection between your router and your modem. All right, back to the terms. Back to the terms. I wonder if I had another picture there for some. No, I must have deleted the picture. That other picture was okay. Okay, last slide. Protocol. protocol is a format for organizing data for transmission. So this is both from the modem out the into the internet, or from, also protocols are used by your network card to put it along the blue cable. And protocols are, there's a lot of different ones, but we could think of protocols as basic as, when we're writing in the English language, why do we begin a sentence with a capital and end it with a period? Is there something special about that makes, well, no, that it's kind of like a protocol. It's kind of like a set of accepted rules that allows us to communicate. And that's what a protocol is. And depending on what we're doing with our data in a computer, we have different protocols. So here's some examples, and some of these will be familiar, and maybe some of them won't be familiar. So here's some examples. There's FTP, File Transfer Protocol, which is a little bit on the older side, but basically usually when you're downloading something, probably the transfer protocol that's being used is FTP still, File Transfer Protocol. And what that protocol actually entails, we won't worry about. And in fact, in high school computer science, we won't worry about it. It won't be something that you talk to, until if you're doing, computer engineering or software design or something like that at university or at college, you might get into what those protocols actually are. One that you've seen, but maybe you didn't realize what this was, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So Hypertext Transfer Protocol is this idea of web pages being sent from server to your web browser. That's used. This is a different protocol, HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Another one that you've already seen, because we talked about when you talked about internet the other day, Transmission Control Protocol, Internet Protocol. So this is when what are called packets go along for internet use. The little packet is like a little bit of information that's changed into data that can be sent along phone lines or cable lines, and that's how we communicate from one computer to a server, and that from one server to another server. The details of that, again, we are not worried about. We just want to be able to recognize what these protocols are. A newer one, VoIP. Maybe you've heard the term VoIP. This means Voice over Internet Protocol. So this is the idea of we're going to use the internet to do phone calls. It was almost like the other way around for a long time, is that we used internet traffic over telephone lines, but as things sort of evolve, now we're going to use the internet for our voice transmission. So VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol. So again, this is just another way that our computer gets data ready to be sent over network lines. Two more. Hopefully you're keeping up. LAN. LAN stands for Local Area Network, and it's a network over a small area. And that's all. Local area kind of makes sense. Local area network. So like our Northwestern network would be considered a LAN because it's a small geographical area, or a small business. If everything is kind of in one building or two buildings close by, you could consider that a LAN. And usually a LAN is physically hardwired, although that's not always necessarily has to be the case anymore with the prevalence of Wi-Fi. The contrast to that is a WAN, Wide Area Network. It's a network over a large geographical area. So for instance, our network at Northwestern, and the network at Central, and the network in Mitchell, and the network in Goderich, and the network in Wingham, F.E. Medill, all the schools for Avalon Maitland are all connected. Now we can't connect to those other schools specifically, but they are connected. We all share one internet connection. And we say that when the main server goes down in Clinton, that nobody in the whole network gets any internet access. That's the wide area network. That would be all the schools, or a large business. So for instance, all of the TD banks would be connected over a WAN, a wide area network. Okay, I think that's it. That is it. So I know there's an exercise of some sort that you have to do. to get used to all these terms, and I'm guessing there'll be an Edmodo quiz coming shortly. And that's about it for our lessons in the hardware software section. We have a project to do and some stuff to hand in probably, but that's all I have to say about that.